Hey everyone, this is Steve from GamersNexus.net, and today we're looking at Rosewill's Apollo RK-9100xBBR mechanical keyboard. Consequently, saying that name has been the bane of my existence for the last two takes of this audio. This mechanical keyboard is priced at $150. It's branded by Rosewill and ships in brown and blue cherry switches with blue or red backlighting. The full written review is linked in the description below. You'll find links to alternative keyboards also in that article, so if you're looking for more, check on that. Let's go through the features before we hit on opinions. So the keyboard uses cherry switches. Its feel will be exactly the same as any other cherry MX brown or blue switch you've ever encountered. The Apollo has a full 10-key numpad, a function key right of the spacebar, alternative functions on F1 through F12, and alternative functions on numpad 8 and numpad 2. The numpad keys will adjust backlight brightness between 4 levels, including off or 3 brightness levels. F1 through F6 with a function key serve as media control options, so play, volume change, mute, stuff like that. And F7 through F11 serve as gaming macro profiles, with F12 toggling gaming mode on and off, which is basically just disabling the Windows key. Other than that, the keyboard's got a sort of rubberized texture everywhere except for the keys, which are just normal caps, just plastic caps. The Apollo ships with alternative orange keycaps for directional keys and WASD keys, and honestly, they feel a lot better than the stock keycaps. They've got a bit more grip to them as a result of the paint, and that's something I really would prefer to see all over the keyboard, because the current ones just kind of, I don't know, they just feel kind of normal and uninteresting to me. In the top right of the keyboard, the Apollo has 2 USB ports and 2 3.5mm jacks, which is always a nice feature on a keyboard. It has a thick braided cable running to your system that splits into USB and 3.5mm, which then carry the signal to those ports or to the keyboard itself. A wrist rest is also included for those who like it. That's pretty much everything in terms of specs. As for opinions, well, the brown switches feel like they always do. The overall clickiness and tactility feels good. It's not really anything unique to board manufacturers. It's unique to switch manufacturers. So if you know the MX Brown switches and like them, then you'll like these. I've had some issues with the keys sticking, or the switches sticking on occasion. Maybe 4 or 5 times since I've had the keyboard, I've had a key stick, meaning if I hit E, it just keeps hitting E over and over until I hit it again to release that. And that's out of probably a couple 100,000 keystrokes, because I've been doing all the article writing. It's a bit annoying, but it's not dismal, because, again, 4 or 5 times out of hundreds of thousands of keystrokes is not a terrible track record, but it is worse than the G710 Plus, which I'll talk about in a moment. I do question if that'll get worse with use, though, so I caution you if you do a lot of typing. The software is sort of clumsy, but it gets the job done. The only purpose of Rosewill software is to map keys to functions, so you can assign macros, core window functions, things like that. Pretty standard stuff, really, if you've used any other mouse or keyboard mapping software in the past. With these, you have to sacrifice the base functionality of that key you're mapping, so it's important to find one you won't be using in-game or for text chat in the game. Switching between profiles is very easily done if you need to reclaim that key, though I would never recommend that for serious gaming if you're already in the game. And you can just hit function F12 to disable gaming mode altogether, which will give you all of your stock abilities back. So realistically, I never used the profiles, because remapping keys was kind of not something I wanted to do when I might use them for normal things. I remapped 6 through 0 in Counter-Strike. That proved to be pretty annoying, because you need those keys when you're buying stuff, but I tried mapping a couple other keys like insert, home, page up, page down, stuff like that, and those work a little bit better, but again, I don't know that you really gain a whole lot of that out of that, other than maybe for MMOs or something like that. But that's what you have to do to map stuff. So the great thing about the mechanical keyboard market is that there's a huge amount of competition, which poses a problem for manufacturers trying to get a foothold with new products, but it's a great problem for consumers. So as I note in the written review, there are a lot of great alternatives at similar or lower prices. Logitech's G710 Plus is a good one at $120. Corsair's K70, another good one at $120 and pretty high quality components. DOS Keyboard is one of the premier mechanical keyboard manufacturers, and they have stuff available in the same price range. Ducky is a supplier and a manufacturer. They have their Shine 3 in the same price range. Cooler Master's got a $80 or $90 Quickfire, which is pretty good if you don't need all the other functionality. So there are lots of options, and there's not much differentiating them. Some have extra keys, some don't. Some have USB and 3.5 jacks, some don't. So you'll ultimately have to decide what features are worth the extra money for your uses. For me, at $150, I'd rather spend $30 less and get the K70 or G710 Plus, which has basically the same feature set, and even better in some cases, like the volume scroll wheel. If you're trying to spend less than $100, Cooler Master's Quickfire is pretty good, and Corsair's K70 does occasionally go on sale for $80 to $100, depending on where you're buying. I like Rosewill's Apollo. I just don't think I could justify $150 for something that is basically available at $120 elsewhere. At $100 to $120, I would be much more likely to recommend buying this keyboard. As I said in the written review, the rubberized finish is very nice and not something that you'll find on most of the other keyboards, but it's not $30 nice. So that's all for this time. Please like, comment, and subscribe. As always, check out the link in the description below for the full review and links to all of the alternative keyboard options, and I will see you all next time. Peace.